Imagine dedicating your life to advancing technology and inadvertently creating products that would alter the course of human history, both for better and worse. In today's story, we're going to explore the life of Thomas Midgley Jr, a man whose two breakthrough inventions were intended to revolutionize the world, but ended up harming the environment and impacting millions of lives. And the ripple effects? They still influence us to this day. In the 1920s, Thomas Midgley Jr, a brilliant and ambitious engineer, was hired by General Motors. Freshly tasked with solving a major issue in car engines, he was expected to bring new ideas to a company set on expanding the auto industry. Back then, engines suffered from a problem known as knocking, where the engine would make unpredictable sounds and vibrations due to fuel combusting too early. This not only affected the performance, but also the durability of engines. Determined to solve this issue, Midgley tested everything from common chemicals to unusual additives, like melted butter. But none of it worked. That was until he discovered tetraethyl lead, an additive that stopped knocking completely. At the time, this was celebrated as a groundbreaking discovery. When tetraethyl lead, or TL, was added to gasoline, the knocking issue vanished. General Motors, DuPont, and Standard Oil quickly realized the profit potential. In 1923, they created the Ethyl Corporation to mass-produce this miracle fuel additive. They branded it as ethyl gasoline, carefully omitting the mention of lead. To the public, it sounded harmless, and TEL was soon in demand across the US. The immediate benefits were undeniable. Cars ran smoother and lasted longer. Yet, while the company executives saw dollar signs, Midgley himself knew there were risks. Lead was already known to be toxic, yet at that point, no one imagined the scale of the potential consequences. The toxicity of lead wasn't a mystery. Even in the early 1900s, lead poisoning was recognized for causing severe health issues. Benjamin Franklin himself had noted lead's dangerous effects. But with the huge profits at stake, industry leaders and some scientists downplayed these concerns, asserting that lead in small amounts was harmless. However, the side effects started to appear soon after production ramped up. Within a few months of opening Ethyl Corporation's first plant, workers started falling ill. In 1924, several workers died from acute lead poisoning. Midgley himself suffered symptoms and had to take time off to recover. Yet, at a press conference meant to calm the public, Midgley dramatically poured TEL on his hands and even inhaled its fumes to prove it was safe. While it convinced some, it was a dangerous and misleading display. The health impacts spread beyond factory workers. With leaded gasoline in widespread use, lead began accumulating in the air, soil, and water. Decades later, public health researchers found correlations between lead exposure and declines in IQ, increased aggression, and even higher crime rates. Lead, it turns out, disrupts brain function, particularly in children. These revelations would take many years to come to light, and for decades, millions would be unknowingly exposed. In the 1950s, while the automobile industry was thriving, a scientist named Claire Patterson began researching lead levels in the atmosphere, albeit indirectly. Patterson was trying to determine the age of the Earth by measuring lead isotopes in ancient rocks. To his surprise, he found that lead contamination in his samples was far higher than expected, even in seemingly pristine environments. After discovering that most of this contamination was due to leaded gasoline, Patterson became a vocal critic of the fuel industry. He even faced backlash and efforts to undermine his research, but he pressed on, gathering evidence of widespread environmental contamination. His research ultimately contributed to the decision to phase out leaded gasoline in the US, starting in the 1970s. Patterson's fight helped reduce lead exposure worldwide, but not before millions had been impacted. You'd think that a story like this would end with one major invention, but Midgley wasn't finished. In the 1930s, he was tasked with solving a different problem. the need for safer refrigerants. Up to that point, fridges used highly flammable or toxic gases, which could cause explosions or poisonings. Again, Midgley seemed to find a miraculous answer. He developed chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, branding the new refrigerant as Freon. Non-toxic and non-flammable, CFCs seemed like a perfect solution for fridges, air conditioning, and aerosols. Freon was soon widely adopted, with Midgley hailed as an innovator yet again. However, the discovery of CFCs would eventually lead to another global crisis. Decades after they became mainstream, scientists discovered that when CFCs reached the stratosphere, they broke down and released chlorine atoms. These atoms would then destroy ozone molecules, which form a protective layer in our atmosphere. The ozone layer is essential for life, shielding Earth from harmful ultraviolet UV rays. By the 1980s, scientists had discovered a massive seasonal hole in the ozone layer over Antarctica, caused largely by CFCs. Increased UV exposure can lead to higher rates of skin cancer, cataracts, and environmental damage. Once again, an invention intended to help the world had ended up causing significant harm. In 1987, the Montreal Protocol was signed to phase out CFCs worldwide, marking one of the first major global efforts to protect the environment. However, because CFCs remain in the atmosphere for up to 100 years, the damage persists, and it will take decades for the ozone layer to fully recover. Thomas Midgley passed away in 1944 in a tragic accident involving a pulley system he had devised to help him move after contracting polio. His death was a strange and symbolic end for a man whose inventions had both advanced and harmed humanity. Midgley's legacy serves as a stark reminder of the unintended consequences that can arise from scientific innovation. His inventions were hailed as breakthroughs that advanced technology, improved convenience, and increased efficiency. But the environmental and health costs were enormous. Leaded gasoline contributed to a global rise in cognitive and behavioral issues, as well as cardiovascular diseases, while CFCs damaged the Earth's ozone layer, a critical component of life protection. Today, we've largely banned both leaded gasoline and CFCs, thanks to scientists, environmentalists, and activists who fought hard to bring these issues to light. The Clean Air Act, the Montreal Protocol, and other environmental regulations helped reverse some of the damage, saving countless lives and protecting future generations. But while we've made progress, these stories reveal just how delicate our relationship with technology can be. When powerful inventions are developed without fully understanding their impacts, they can cause more harm than good. That's why today, many researchers and innovators take extra steps to consider the environmental and social consequences of their work. The story of Thomas Midgley Jr. is a reminder that scientific and technological advancements come with a responsibility. His life was filled with achievements and accolades, but it also left a legacy of global challenges. Today, as we push forward with new technologies from AI to biotech, we must remember that every invention has the potential for unintended consequences. The story of Thomas Midgley Jr. is a reminder that scientific and technological advancements come with a responsibility. His life was filled with achievements and accolades, but it also left a legacy of global challenges. Today, as we push forward with new technologies, from AI to biotech, we must remember that every invention has the potential for unintended consequences. The world is more interconnected than ever, and the stakes are high. If we're mindful, we can continue to create innovations that benefit humanity while protecting our planet. Midgley's story teaches us not only about science and technology, but about responsibility, foresight, and the incredible influence that one individual can have on the world. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more content on the hidden histories and unintended impacts of science and technology.